It's wild. My girlfriend cheated on me with her ex. And I thought my world was ending. But years later, seeing her happily married to him, while I'm living my best life? Are you really okay with this? A friend asked. Jaw dropped. I just smiled. Better than okay. Actually, man, sometimes I look back and it still feels like a movie intro. I was 24, just living my life. When I met her, it was a typical Friday night. Loud music. Buzzing bar. Me and my buddies. Her with her crew. Our eyes met across the room. And it was one of those instant things. We started chatting. And it was like we'd known each other forever. The jokes landed. The conversation flowed. And before the night was over, we'd swapped numbers. Texting turned into daily calls. Then dates. And pretty soon, we were an item. It dated a bit before her. But this felt different. This was the first time I actually thought, holy crap. This is the one. We just clicked. Had so much in common. Got along famously. Similar goals in life. We just genuinely loved being around each other. Everything felt perfect. Eventually, as you do, we got to talking about exes. She mentioned a few. But there was one. Let's call him Ethan. Who kept coming up. She'd say he was the one she thought she'd marry. But then quickly follow it up with how he was a total jerk. Dumped her a couple of times. And honestly, sounded like a manipulative dude. What really stuck with me was how she'd talk about him. Almost like she was still a little obsessed. Even though she swore she'd moved on. He always finds a way to weasel back in. She'd say. I asked if she was still in touch. Nah. He's gone for good. Blocked him everywhere. She'd assure me. I nodded. A sigh of relief escaping me. But deep down, a little knot of unease formed in my stomach. A whisper that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as gone as she claimed. I pushed it down. Though, things were too good to let some past ghost mess with it. My goal was simple, keep this incredible thing we had going. And that meant trusting her and suppressing any jealous thoughts. Fast forward 9 months. We were in full happily ever after mode. Practically lived together at my place. Spending every night laughing, cooking, just enjoying each other. We were even apartment hunting. Looking for our first place together. A blank slate for us. Had a couple of spots picked out. Getting ready to make offers. Then, one day, she walked in from work. Tossed her keys on the counter. And practically shouted. The craziest thing happened today. Remember my ex? Ethan. He just got hired in the sales department. My stomach dropped like a stone. Boom. Just like that. I knew she worked operations. And those two departments collaborated on projects all the time. My brain immediately started piecing things together. Was this really by chance? Had she known? I tried to stay calm. Taking a slow breath. Is that going to be a problem? I asked. My voice hopefully sounding more casual than I felt. No. Of course not. She replied. Waving a dismissive hand. I'll avoid him. But it's been long enough. We can be professional. She assured me it would be no issue. And if it was, she'd look to move departments. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to be the trusting, understanding boyfriend. So I nodded, forcing a smile. But that little knot in my stomach tightened. And that's when the subtle shifts started. At first, they were small. Almost imperceptible. She'd stop wanting to meet for lunch as often. I used to get texts from her throughout the workday. Little check-ins. Funny observations. Then it became an odd text here and there. A much longer silence between messages. When I'd ask her about it, she'd always say, work's just getting crazy busy lately. And you know what? That's a fair point. I mean, work does get busy. Outside of work, everything still felt fine. She was still coming home at regular times. Wasn't glued to her phone when we were together. But that nagging feeling? That little voice of unease. Just kept whispering. I wanted to trust her. I truly did. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Trying to shove those doubts back down. But they just wouldn't stay buried. So, Reddit. Here's where I was head over heels in love. Building a future. But with this slowly expanding shadow of an ex who was suddenly way too close for comfort. My girlfriend swore it was fine. But my gut was doing flips. Am I overthinking this? Should I have pushed harder when she told me about Ethan getting hired? How do you balance trusting your partner with that undeniable gut feeling that something's not right? I was trying so hard not to be that jealous boyfriend. But the signs, however small, were starting to point in a direction I desperately didn't want to go. What do you guys think? Am I just being insecure? Or was my gut trying to tell me something important from the jump? Remember that little knot in my stomach? Well, it coiled tighter than a spring when the next shoe dropped. She came home one evening, looking a little too chipper for my liking, and casually announced, "Guess what? The company's flying my team, along with sales and marketing, to head office for a few days. Specialized systems training." My blood ran cold. Head office, sales and marketing. Ethan. My brain processed the words, and a sickening certainty washed over me. I tried to sound nonchalant, asking, "Is everyone from all the teams going?" She confirmed it. And in that instant, a quiet alarm blared in my head. This is it. This is where it ends. It wasn't a conscious thought, more like a subconscious dread. A dark premonition. I knew something was going to happen. My goal was still to give her the benefit of the doubt. To trust. But the dilemma was this overwhelming feeling of impending doom versus the desperate hope that I was just being paranoid. I tried to play it cool. But the words still came out. "Look. I'm concerned about you and him. Together. Away from here." I watched her face for a flicker of guilt, but she just offered a reassuring smile. "Nothing's going to happen. I've barely even spoken to him. It'll be fine." She said it with such conviction. And I wanted to believe her. I really did. I convinced myself I was just being an overprotective idiot. The day of the trip arrived. I drove her to the airport. The air in the car thick with unspoken tension. We said our goodbyes. A quick hug. A peck on the cheek. It felt normal. But there was a hollowness to it. The flight wasn't long. And a while later, I got a text landed. A tiny wave of relief. Quickly followed by a Skype call from her hotel room. She looked tired but cheerful. "Gonna grab dinner and drinks with the team later? Then I'll call you before I crash." That was the last time I actually spoke with her for the entire trip. She sent one more text when she got to the restaurant. Then, absolute radio silence for 3 whole days. My phone, usually buzzing with her messages, was eerily quiet. I tried to play it cool at first. "How's it going?" I texted. No reply. An hour later, I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a dramatic message. Just a quiet, "Hey. Just checking in. Wanted to see how things are going." Still nothing. 2 days in. I got one single text, "Fine. Swamped. Tired when I finish up. We'll call before I leave." That was it. No explanation. No details. Just a curt dismissal. The call never came. Each unanswered text, each ignored call, chipped away at my dwindling hope. My brain was screaming. This isn't just busy. This is deliberate. I was trying to hold on to the idea that she was just really slammed with work. But the complete blackout felt like a betrayal in itself. My goal shifted from hoping I was wrong to just wanting any form of communication. Any sign that she hadn't completely checked out. By the day she was supposed to return, I was beyond pissed. I texted her, "If you want me to pick you up from the airport, you need to let me know. Otherwise, I won't be there." I needed a response. An acknowledgement. Anything. But my phone remained silent. I finally sent another text, trying to keep my voice neutral. "I'm going to be at my place. It'd be nice to see you when you get back." I was trying to hold on to a thread of calm. But inside, a storm was brewing. I knew, with a terrifying certainty, that something was profoundly wrong. Hours crawled by. Then, suddenly, the door to my apartment swung open. She walked in, dropping her bag, a wide smile on her face. "Oh my God. I missed you so much," she exclaimed, trying to hug me. I held her off, my voice dangerously calm. "How did you get back from the airport?" Her smile faltered slightly. "Oh, a friend drove me." "Was that friend Ethan?" I asked. My gaze locked on hers. She stared off blankly for a second. Then her eyes welled up. Tears started to stream down her face. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Yes, it did." My heart physically ached. But the anger was a cold, Hard knot in my chest. I want the truth. What happened? And then it all came out. She mumbled about good intentions and no plans. But then they got talking when the team was at the bar. And one thing led to another. She confessed Shed ended up in his hotel room. Balls deep in her, as she put it. And then, the ultimate punch to the gut, we were pretty much fucking the entire time we were at head office. That's why I never heard from you. My mind reeled. 3 days of silence. 3 days of me agonizing. 3 days of her with him. She tried to defend it, saying he was her one that got away. And this provided her closure. I just stared at her, utterly speechless. Closure. My world was crumbling. And she was talking about closure with the guy who'd messed her around before. In that moment, watching her cry, trying to rationalize it, I realized that this wasn't about me, or us, or our future. It was about her unfinished business. And I was just collateral damage. None of it made sense. So, read it. The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. The gut feeling wasn't paranoia. It was a siren. How do you even begin to process something like that? When the person you thought was the one confesses to such a complete betrayal, and then tries to explain it away with closure. My mind was a whirlwind of rage, disbelief, and a profound sense of loss. What would you have done right then? Hearing those words. How do you even respond to that kind of confession? Hearing her confess, detailing the entire sickening betrayal, was like taking a direct hit to the chest. My brain was still trying to catch up, to process balls deep and fucking the entire time and closure all in one sentence. It was a bizarre, horrifying torrent of information. She was still crying, still trying to explain, saying she got it out of her system and it would not happen again. But those words just hung in the air, hollow and meaningless. Got it out of her system, with the guy she still had to work with every single day. My mind snapped to a conclusion that was a lie. There was no way this was out of her system if he was still going to be a daily presence. My immediate goal was to end the pain, to stop the bleeding. My voice, when it came out, was steady, despite the hurricane raging inside me. No, I said, cutting her off. You're still working with him. There's no way it's over there. But it's over for us. The words felt heavy, final. You have 24 hours to get your shit out of my place. She stopped crying for a second. Then new tears burst forth. She begged. She pleaded. She promised Shed quit her job. Block him again. Do anything. She swore she loved me. That it was a mistake. That she didn't know what she was thinking. My heart ached. Not for her pleas. But for the person I thought she was. For the future we'd planned. But her words felt like a desperate attempt to manipulate. To cling to comfort. In that moment, I realized that allowing her to stay would be condoning the betrayal. And I'd never be able to look at her, or myself, the same way again. My decision was firm. I wouldn't have it. 24 hours. She eventually left, taking her things, leaving behind an echoing emptiness in my apartment and in my life. It was a brutal few weeks. Honestly. Every corner of my place, every song on the radio, every little routine we shared felt like a fresh wound. But then, as predicted, about a month later, word got back to me she and Ethan were officially dating again. No surprise there. Really. It almost felt like a validation of my decision. A confirmation that her closure speech was just a flimsy excuse. The breakup messed with me for a long time. I found it incredibly hard to trust people. Especially anyone I started to feel close to. Every small silence. Every unanswered text. Every new acquaintance felt like a potential trap. I was constantly on guard. Analyzing. Fearing a repeat performance. My long-term goal became simply to heal. To find that sense of security and trust again. Not just in others, but in my own judgment. It was a slow, painful process of rebuilding. But then, something funny happened. More time passed. Years. Even. And guess what? She and Ethan actually made it work. Like, really made it work. They got married not long after. When I heard the news, there was no bitterness. No fresh stab of pain. Just a quiet acceptance. A small smile. Even. Good for them. I genuinely thought. Happy ending for them. I suppose. Because, in the end, it was a happy ending for me too. Slowly. Painfully. I moved on. I learned to trust again. To open my heart without reservation. I met someone else. Someone who never gave me a moment's doubt. Someone who was open and honest and real. And looking back now, honestly, this whole messy, heartbreaking chapter was for the best. It taught me invaluable lessons about trust, about self-worth, and about listening to that gut feeling, even when you desperately want to ignore it. The pain faded, replaced by gratitude for the growth. So, read it. That's the whole messy, heartbreaking, and ultimately, surprisingly wholesome story. It took a lot to get here. A lot of tears and self-doubt. But I finally realized that sometimes, the one that got away isn't the person you're supposed to be with, but the bullet you dodged. What do you think about how this all wrapped up? Has anyone else been through a gut-wrenching breakup that, years later, you realized was actually the best thing that ever happened to you? Share your stories. I'd love to hear them.